Welcome to the program, everyone. Support comes from 120 Life. High blood pressure doesn't always feel urgent until it hits close to home. I've had someone I love dealing with it, my mom, lately, and I've been paying more attention to my own numbers too because of that. The truth is, high blood pressure is the number one risk factor for mortality, and nearly half of adults have it, most without symptoms. February is American Heart Month. If your New Year's resolution slipped, that's all right. This is a simple way to reset that. 120 Life is a once-a-day functional drink made from superfruit juices that helps support healthy blood pressure. It's not a pill or a gimmick. It's refreshing, easy, and consistency really matters. Hundreds of doctors recommend it. Over 1,000 health professionals support it. Grab a home monitor, drink it daily, and check your numbers. Many see changes in just 2 weeks. So go to 120life.com and use the code DON for 20% off. That's 120life.com and use the code DON. Try it risk-free for 2 weeks. If your numbers don't improve, you get a full refund. Now, these statements have not been approved by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prevent any disease. So check with your doctor as always. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show. So glad that you're here. Sorry we're a little bit late. I know you guys are like, Don, come on, we're ready to go. I understand that. A little issue with the ads. We had to make sure that everything worked out. So sorry, because it's very important. That keeps us on the air. First order of business. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. It affects the algorithm. More people become aware of our channel, our conversation, and that's really important to us. So thank you for being patient this morning. Glad that you're here. I know 1.25 million subscribers, amazing. So make sure that that continues to grow. Take our channel page and share it with everyone, not just YouTube, but also Twitch, Substack as well. If you're a member on YouTube or subscribe on YouTube, go over to Substack and Twitch. You can subscribe there. It's free, or you can become a paid subscriber on either one of those. So thank you very much. And thank you for, someone already gifting a membership. That is amazing. Dana Hickman, I appreciate it. If you're already a member, you can gift memberships as well. And welcome to our new members. We're glad that you are here. Celeste Hasbach, welcome to the Lemon Nation. Okay, so like and thumbs up. Let's talk about what's going on. We have a great show planned for you. I want to just talk to you this morning very plainly about what's happening. Congress passed a law. Remember, it was bipartisan. It mandated the simple release of the Epstein files, all of them, no gatekeeping, no more elite protection racket masquerading as process, none of that. The American people were promised sunlight on this, and yet here we are, it's just months later. The law was passed, still hobbling around, people in the dark. We don't know what's going on. They are defying judges, defying laws, defying orders, and it looks like an intentional, I wouldn't call it a mischaracterization, but an intentional sort of subterfuge, throwing people off of the trail, an intentional confusion so that people can't make heads or tails of it. A map that doesn't match up. You can't get from point A to point B. Thousands of pages have been released, no searchable data. Officials are going to tell you that they are complying, but they're not. But buried inside the fine print is a detail that should make you really, really, really concerned. And that's more than 50 pages of FBI interviews and notes tied to allegations involving Donald Trump. And this is a report from NPR, okay? NPR is saying that more than 50 pages of FBI interviews and notes tied to allegations involving Donald Trump are cataloged but not public. They exist. The government acknowledges they exist. They just will not let you see them. How convenient is that? Do not insult our intelligence by pretending this is about privacy or procedure. The entire purpose of this law was to prevent exactly that kind of selective disclosure. This is really concerning, and it should be really concerning for everyone, every single person in America. Because how do you get to the bottom of this? Many people have suffered consequences all over the world for those files, but no one here in the United States. What's that all about? And some folks have not been charged. They have just been investigated, but not here in the United States. Let's discuss with an attorney now. Simone Redwine is an attorney, a legal analyst, and a law professor, and she joins us now. Simone, this NPR story is this a bombshell? What is it?
This is absolutely a bombshell, because specifically in these reports, what they have discovered is that there is a report that accused Trump of sexually abusing a minor around 1983, along with Jeffrey Epstein. So the two of them allegedly abused her in 1983. And not only that, but NPR's evidence showed that they interviewed this victim 4 times. But of those 4 times, they only released evidence related to one of those interviews. And that was an interview where she is only discussing what Epstein did to her, not what Trump did to her.
Wow, let's read through some of this. I mean, this is shocking. I'm surprised that more has not been made of it. And I'm also surprised, and I don't know if I should be, that the Justice Department was this, excuse my terminology, but as we say, Simone, this raggedy and being caught trifling and getting caught with their hands in the cookie jar, trying to hide what's in the cookie jar. The Justice Department, according to this report, has withheld some Epstein files related to allegations that President Trump sexually abused a minor. An NPR investigation finds it also removed, Simone, some documents from the public database where accusations against Jeffrey Epstein also mention Trump. Some files have not been made public despite a law mandating their release. Those include what appears to be more than 50 pages of FBI interviews and notes from conversations with a woman who accused Trump of sexual abuse decades ago when she was a minor. NPR reviewed multiple sets of unique serial numbers appearing before and after the pages in question, stamped into documents in the Epstein files database. The FBI case records, emails, and discovery document logs in the latest tranche of documents published at the end of January. NPR's investigation found dozens of pages that appear to be cataloged by the Justice Department but not shared publicly. That's what I mean about raggedy. The Justice Department is declining to answer NPR's questions on the record about these specific files, what's in them, and why they are not published. Did they think they were not going to get caught? And when I say raggedy, that's what we mean.
Yeah, this is what happens when you go to an underfunded law school, when your daddy pays your way off the wait list into a law school and you don't know what you're doing. Okay, so to put this in regular people speak, how it works is when you release a document in discovery, you put what's called a Bates number. It's simply a number that tracks every single document that was released. That way they can't do what they've done here because the numbers are consecutive. That way, if pages are missing, you're able to say, oh, wait a minute. The pages now jump from 1 to 53 or 1 to 52. Where is this group? That is what happened. And that's how NPR was able to discover that this is not merely a redaction issue. This is an obstruction of justice issue.
Wait, what do you mean?
So what they have done by failing to release, so there's a law, there was a law that Congress passed related to the Epstein documents that say they have to release it all. Yes, certain things can be redacted, but you cannot wholesale withhold documents without a given reason protected under the law. None of that satisfies here. So if we had an administration that actually was about justice, they could then hold those accountable, so Pam Bondi, etc., for obstructing justice by not allowing the public to read those documents, not allowing Congress to read these documents and to determine whether or not there are others that can be held accountable.
Well, the question is, though, if it is obstruction of justice, and who's going to investigate the investigators? That's
not these crooks. Yeah, not these crooks. That's the problem. And further, this just supports the fact that he did it. Trump did it. His nasty Noosey neck, that's what I call it, the neck that looks like, the women's ladies part. This nasty man, we finally have evidence that is showing that they are wholesale protecting the public, protecting Trump from the backlash that he deserves just from reviewing the documents. We're talking notes. So those would be the notes that the federal investigators took as this minor victim was telling her story. This is 1993. So there's a likelihood that there's a statute of limitations issue, but that's not what this law was about. They don't get to say, oh, well, the statute of limitations may have passed. It doesn't have to be released. They have to release it to the public and then allow the public to decide whether or not people were out here covering up what Epstein and Trump have done.
Yeah. Okay. So you said he did it allegedly. That's
allegedly.
Allegedly.
According to the victim, correct. Allegedly.
According to the victims, he did it. That's what you said. So then you said there's a statute of limitations, but how long does this last? Does it last forever? Because do they have qualified immunity when Trump leaves office? Is there a possibility? So what does any of this mean?
So generally, the statute of limitations is approximately 5 years. That's why Trump wanted to work so hard to get those 2 back-to-back terms that would have protected him from the prior charges that he had under the Biden administration. Here, though, if currently Trump is working along with Bondi and others to commit any offenses, if he does not win a second term, or if a Republican administration doesn't win the next term, then charges can be brought against him. See, the Supreme Court made a ruling, I think it was last year or the year before, about qualified immunity. This doesn't cover it, because this nasty stuff he did prior to being president, as far as these documents go. And qualified immunity cannot be used to cover up your own crimes.
Talk to me about that.
Yes.
So even beyond, we'll stick with the Epstein files, but just a
Sure.
quick little caveat here, a quick little insertion here. So the stuff that's happening out on the streets with no due process with the Department of Homeland Security, they don't get immunity for covering up their own crimes.
It varies. So with qualified immunity, what it says is the acts that he did as a president can be protected. As a president. So if he, for example, him sending out, ICE, those things are more likely for Trump to be protected. That doesn't necessarily apply for Bondi and others.
That's what I'm asking. Okay.
However, separately, if it's obstruction of justice and he's telling people, don't you release these files that show I was complicit with Epstein, that does not fall under qualified immunity, because that is not a decision he is making as the president for presidential reasons to protect the American people. That is a decision that he is making as a creep to cover up his trifling ways.
Okay. So then what's next then? If you were, representing one of the victims, or prosecuting, if you were charged with prosecuting people who are involved in this, what would your next step be after seeing the information from this NPR report?
If I were one of the victims, representing one of the victims, my next step would be to raise my hand and say, you know what, I would love to go before Congress and tell you what I told those federal investigators that has now been hidden from the public. Because those are the documents that are missing. And if she wants to speak, they can't prevent her from speaking. They can choose to hold a session of Congress where she's able to basically say, this is the gist of what I said. And I don't know why these documents have been missed, but these are the people that I spoke to. And that would also help find who is complicit, along with Pam Bondi or any others, with respect to hiding the documents. Because she would be able to say, these are the federal investigators that I talked to. These are other people who know this information. And we now know that those documents are missing. So they can use that to help bring this information to the light and the truth.
I think we have a report, Andy. If you can cue that report into the reporter past the anchors, if that's possible. I would like to be able to play some of it so that people can see. I think it's from MS Now.
Well, Anna, one of the things I can tell you is that based on documents that are available in the Epstein files, and we're just going to hold up to you what allowed us to get to this reporting. This is an index of witness statements from people who were not expected to testify at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, but whose statements were nonetheless produced to her defense counsel in the run-up to her 2021 trial. We also have a smaller one with respect to those who were expected to testify. And based on those indices, as well as documents available in the file, MS Now can report that there is at least one witness for whom 3 interviews with the FBI in rapid succession in 2019 are missing. You might say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal about that is that we can also confirm that that woman is the same person who in a 2025 FBI presentation is identified to have accused Donald Trump of a sexual assault when she was between 13 and 15 years old. We know that based on a human source who has confirmed to us that this woman is one and the same. So I want to make this very clear. There is a woman who, according to the FBI and documents compiled last summer, accused Donald Trump of sexually assaulting and physically abusing her. One of the things in her accusation is that in addition to forcing her to perform oral sex, he also hit her in that same episode. We have now connected that woman to someone who was interviewed by the FBI 4 times in 2019. Of those 4 interview memoranda, which are listed in this index that I'm holding up right here, only one of them can be seen. And in that interview, the accusations against Trump are not present. At the most, she says that she had met Trump on one occasion without detailing it. And when asked how she understood that Epstein was a person who committed abuse against her, she showed FBI agents a picture that she had been sent by a friend. It was a picture that she was reluctant to share with FBI agents because there was somebody else in the photograph. It turned out to be, according to this interview memo, a well-known photograph of Epstein and Trump together. She said that she was reluctant to show them the full image, lest she incriminate someone that she feared could retaliate against her. That's all that we know from what's publicly available in the files. But we know that this woman had other accusations against Trump. Where they are listed or where they've been memorialized, we're not sure. But we can tell you and our viewers that there are 3 other interview memoranda taken by the FBI that are not present anywhere in the Epstein files. And this is a problem that we expect may have recurred with dozens of other witnesses whose files may not have been produced in their totality. Again, this index gives a unique numerical identifier to more than 500 witnesses and lists in numerical order the kinds of documents from which their statements were taken, everything from FBI interview memos to Palm Beach police incident reports to handwritten notes and the like. Going through those methodically, you can see as a layperson or as a reporter what has been produced in the files and what hasn't. And it's our expectation and understanding that there are many other instances in which witnesses, many of whom were alleged victims, don't have all of their statements produced. If these were important enough.
That is a report, and it's a long report from MS Now. I want to stand by just for a moment because I want to bring someone. I want to bring in Dave Weigel, who's a Semaphore senior politics reporter, excuse me. Dave, and look, I know we didn't bring you on to discuss this, but it is breaking news. I wanted to get you in because I want to be respectful. If you care to comment on this, because this appears to be a significant development. I know that we brought you on to talk about, give us a preview of the State of the Union to look forward. But having seen this, I'm not sure if you've read it. Do you have any comment on it?
I'm not surprised by it. I've just read NPR's reporting on it, but the administration has, from the outset, not been completely transparent and trustworthy about what it has. It's been deflecting. It's when pushed, Pam Bondi will say something, or Republicans beyond the DOJ, but the DOJ should be a little bit more even-handed. We'll just say, well, there were multiple presidents in charge during this investigation, so why are you pressuring us so much? Them not revealing everything. It's a cliche, but it's the cover-up, not the crime. They really are acting with impunity. If there's anything that they have withheld from the public, and I think their hope is, well, we're in power. Nobody can indict us for it. Nobody can really challenge us for it. No one can challenge the president. No one can challenge Bondi. We're just going to wait this out for a couple of years. And I think maybe we'll get to Democrats to State of the Union. Robert Garcia, the Democrats who want to take over oversight roles, in the next Congress, that's their only real way at this. And that's what they say all the time. We don't trust this administration's ability, one that has gotten rid of inspectors general even to investigate itself or to be truthful about what's in these documents. They're going to keep asking. I have seen this more, or covered it more as a political story, as something Democrats are talking about and running on. That's where I see it going. That there's very little trust in the public that this administration would ever reveal something that's harmful to the president. So yesterday, a Trump-appointed judge, Aileen Cannon, hiding Jack Smith's report for as long as she possibly can. So this strikes me as the same thing. I don't want to get too much into the details of Epstein because that's not my beat. My beat in politics. That's the administration's theme. Just use their power to protect themselves.
Do you think this will come up tonight?
Well, there are multiple members of Congress, all Democrats, who actually I don't know who Tom Massey's invited, but multiple members of Congress who've invited victims from the Epstein saga to be their guests. They're going to be there. They're going to talk to reporters. They might be available to reporters. Will the president bring it up? I see no expectation that he will. he might riff on it if it comes up in the room. But
not even bring it up
yeah.
as a Democrat hoax or anything like
I
that.
I wouldn't put it past him. Look, there's a teleprompter, but he could get irritated by something. Is it possible? I don't want to be too speculative here. Could he be walking around today and a reporter shouts a question, he engages? Probably, because that's what was the starting gun on people realizing that this was an issue for Trump. It was him getting asked about Epstein a year ago, almost a year ago, at a cabinet meeting, and being annoyed people were still talking about it. That's been his position. But it's really going to be up to the people who've brought Epstein victims, the Rokanas of Congress, to do this, to say that we are going to keep giving these people a voice, and we're not going to let this go, and we have more questions. And if you give us Congress, give us the House, we're going to answer these questions.
Yeah. Go ahead, Simone. I see you want to jump in.
I was going to say too, you asked earlier, what's next? And I'm reading the comments here, and so many people feel like, oh, there's nothing we can do. I disagree. What I think we can all do, contact your congressman, contact your senator, and say, we want to hear from this minor, from this person who was a minor. We want to hear from her. We want her to have the opportunity to tell us what she told that is not, that is no longer maintained in the documents. That way, in front of Congress, in front of all, that also is going to force Republicans to either allow the victims to speak and say their piece, or if they're going to choose to attack them the way Pam Bondi tried to attack or ignore these victims, then they're going to look like the a-holes that many of them are. So I think we need to allow this particular person that's been referenced in these documents the opportunity to speak before Congress.
You know what's interesting to me, Dave, and I'm being honest here. If you look at what happened with Mandelson, if you look at what happened with former Prince Andrew and others, just by the sheer association, and some of these folks have not been charged, but they were government officials or diplomats of some sort, and just because they're association, they have been arrested and pending investigation and pending charges, but nothing like that is happening here. I mean, as I am reading and listening to this story about NPR being played on cable, you guys talking about it, reading the actual report from NPR, I'm surprised that no one is being brought in and questioned about this. Why isn't anyone from the DOJ being questioned about this? Why isn't Donald Trump being questioned about this? These are very serious allegations. The British, they seem far beyond and much more amenable to holding people accountable than the United States of America, than our own Department of Justice.
Well, specifically, what Andrew and Mandelson have been brought in for is the investigation to whether they passed along proprietary government information to help Epstein make money. And that would be illegal here too. No matter what this DOJ is up for, maybe they wouldn't bring the case, but that's definitely not legal. People go to jail for that all the time. There hasn't been a connection drawn between Trump and Epstein in that way, because look at the timeline. Now,
but there are people who
it was Trump and Alex. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me jump. There are people who have had to step down from their roles.
Yes.
There are even government officials who have not been charged. They have had to step down from their roles because of just their mere association with Jeffrey Epstein. That's what I'm saying. And with these files. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. Yeah, I was going to say there's different tiers of interaction with Epstein that we've seen. We've seen people who exchanged emails with him, and this is after he was, I think most of the emails we're talking about are after he was a known sex offender. Those people have had to step aside. Bob Kerrey, the former senator from Nebraska, not engaged in anything improper with Epstein, just the connection he had with him. He's resigning from some positions he had today. If you look at the subpoena the House Republicans sent Bill and Hillary Clinton, who they're going to have testify in some form this week, their allegation to Hillary Clinton is just that, hey, you interacted with Ghislaine Maxwell, and you employed one of her relatives. Therefore, we need to know everything about this. So when they feel like it, Republicans and allies of the president can throw out that net and see what they find. It just, when it comes to the president and to top Republicans, they've been protecting them. But yeah, there are different tiers. There are people, any connection whatsoever that somebody has with him. Look, imagine anyone but Donald Trump being in his birthday book with a lurid joke to Jeffrey Epstein. The Republican response to that was that might have been faked, which was absolutely insane. I tried to be hyperbolic, but the idea that this document was fake 15 or whatever it was years ago. That's been their position with Trump. But you're right. Anyone who has this, even a hint of that kind of association, a friendship with Epstein, communication with him, doing him a favor in any kind of way, you're right. They are all having to answer for it. They're resigning from things. They're giving up their companies. They've not been turned into jail because we haven't seen the particular sort of financial crime that Mandelson's connected to. But you're right. Everyone else who's connected is having to suffer.
Yeah. Dave, I'd hate to put you on the spot with this, so thank you for answering questions on this particular subject. I appreciate it. Okay, so stand by, Dave. Simone, anything you want to say? Because I'm going to move on and talk about the State of the Union.
No, I just want to say, some have asked, did the victims even want to speak? Well, she spoke with investigators, I believe it was last year or the year before. So there is a chance she still wants to speak, or that her attorney could come before Congress on her behalf if she's afraid. So there are options. But thank you so much for having
very
me.
much. Attorney Simone Redwine, thank you. And we'll see you on your show is again.
It's called Girl, Is That Legal? On YouTube.
Thank you, Simone. We appreciate it. Okay, Dave, we're going to continue to talk, and you're going to give us a preview of what you think is going to happen at the State of the Union. But if you will, because we had the breaking news, pardon me to do this, I just need 2 minutes to get a word in from our sponsors, and then we're going to talk the subject that we brought you on to talk about. A word from our sponsors. Support comes from MSI Reproductive Choices. Now let's talk dollars and cents. MSI shared data that every single dollar invested in contraception generates more than $120 in health and socioeconomic gains. That's real impact. Research shows reproductive health care reduces maternal and newborn deaths, keeps girls in school, and strengthens communities. Now, when women have access to contraception, they're healthier, better educated, and better able to support their families. That lifts local economies and fuels global growth. Your gift of $39 can provide 6 women with contraception for a full year. MSI relies on donors, people like you, to continue this work. So go to msiunitedstates.org. That's M as in modern, S as in safe, I as in informed, msiunitedstates.org, or text LEMON to 511-511. Text LEMON to 511-511. Thanks for looking into it. Text fees may apply. Support for the show comes from Shopify. When I started the Don Lemon Show, I had to figure everything out for myself. Scripts, lighting, merch, the whole thing. It can feel overwhelming when your to-do list keeps growing. The right tool changes that. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify powers millions of businesses and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from major brands to startups. We use Shopify for our merch right here at the Don Lemon Show, and it makes everything seamless. You get hundreds of customizable templates to build a store that matches your style. Their AI tools help write product descriptions, headlines, even enhance photos. And Shopify helps you find customers with built-in email and social campaigns. From inventory to international shipping to returns, Shopify handles the back end so you can focus on your vision. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. So start today at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. All right, I'm back now with Dave Weigel. Dave, thank you for weighing in on the breaking news. Now, what are we going to hear tonight? And will much of it be truthful or not?
So will a lot of it be technically true? Some of it, yeah, some of it will be. The standard part of the speech is going to be the president talking about his tax bill last year, and I'm led to believe coming up with examples of people who benefited. So, okay, you're getting this tax. Here's somebody in Iowa who got this tax refund for this reason. Here's somebody in Minnesota who was able to do this for the first time. Here's a waitress who was able to do this. He's going to be selling. Remember, the themes are the golden age of America. That's the theme from the inauguration onward, and this is the 250th anniversary of America. It's going to be very Panglossian, very optimistic about how everything is working out. Now, how will he discuss tariffs is the most unresolved part of this. And if talking to me and my colleagues, talking to people in the administration, that did change things. It was not an unexpected decision that the president was illegally using his tariff power last week and that he had to stop. It has lots of unresolved questions he's not going to bring up, like what happens to these plaintiffs who are suing and want their money back and have been promised in court they're going to get it. What it did for the speech is is he going to refer to a new ambitious program now that he doesn't have trillions of dollars he's expecting, not trillions, he's not getting this money he's expecting from tariffs. More than other presidents, Trump has not cared very much about whether something is going to reduce the deficit. He blows up the deficit. But my sense is that there might have been more ambitious ideas, new accounts for Americans, new programs that Americans take advantage of, and the tariff decision mess that up. But there's also finally going to be just, I mentioned the 250th anniversary, just a lot of patriotism. This is something that the administration has done to a fault, really associating the president with America. Support for the president equals support for America. Military parade on his birthday, sending his FBI director to party with the winning men's hockey team at the Olympics. An effort to do, I'd say, patriotic things and find moments where they can say Democrats didn't applaud enough for something wonderful, which is always a little bit silly. Nobody remembers 2 days later how many if Democrats were grimacing when he said something. There's usually an effort when Republicans are in power to say, for example, did you see how AOC was folding her arms when he condemned socialism? So I would not be surprised if there was some reference to, for example, the operation in Venezuela or the desire to overthrow the government of Cuba, and a cut to a squad member and Republicans talking a lot about that. But from Trump, I think it'll be in the context of America is strong again and we're feared again and we're going to drive prices down through the use of our military. And in a very patriotic wrapping is how he'll probably package it.
You're muted, Don.
We're hearing, Dave, that some, if not many, Democrats are going to avoid the State of the Union altogether. Is that true?
It's true. So there are more skips than ever. There's not a huge chart of this. Remember, Woodrow Wilson starts doing this annual speech again in front of Congress. It picks up a tradition. No president has dropped it. So at least 100 some years, this is the most members of the other party who are going to skip. There are at least two big events in D.C. There's one at the National Press Club by Miles Taylor's group that has a special guest, actors, celebrities, journalists, and members of Congress like Ron Wyden and Eric Swalwell. And then there are more members of Congress that Something Move On is putting on the Mall, which that's what I'm going to be at, because I have colleagues who are inside the chamber. And Democratic leadership has not come out with a full strategy for what the party's going to do on purpose. Their idea is that there are different people running in different races. There are people whose constituents do not want them to go to the State of the Union. I've heard that more from people in more Democratic seats. They're offended if they see them in the aisle trying to shake Trump's hands. They don't want to be in there. But there are going to be multiple events where people give speeches. Are they going to be less attended? Are they going to be filmed for TV? Is Fox going to make fun of them? Yeah, probably. In addition to that, there's there's two official Democratic responses. There's Abigail Spanberger, the new governor of Virginia, and Alex Padilla, the California senator, who, if he's most known for anything, it's probably for being roughed up by federal agents when he was at a Gnome press conference last year. And then the Working Families Party is having Summer Lee give one. That's also tradition. There's been a progressive response to the State of the Union for years. But if I'm counting up the members of Congress at all these events doing their separate speeches, probably about 50 members of Congress who are going to skip the event itself and speak on it elsewhere. And that I'm not one of those reporters who looks back to some fantasy in the past of when everyone agreed with each other in America and we all used to get along at the State of the Union and have a great time. But there haven't been presidents who were this over the top in making fun of the opposition, and also presidents who tried to overthrow the election and, for a lot of Democrats, did something very dark inside that chamber. There are the Democrats I talked to who are just morally offended that he's back at all. And so how are they adjusting to that? Well, last year there were some protests in the room and holding up placards that had messages on them. And this year it's going to be a lot more outside the room. How do we bracket this for the millions of people who don't like Trump and are not going to watch this anyway?
Let's look at some of the polling. I'm wondering how he's going to get around this, because he's already saying the polls are fake. This is a post that says Trump is cratering in new polls. CNN approval rating is at 36%, disapproval 63%. Among the working class, approval is at 41%, disapproval 58%. Independents, Dave, 26% approval rating, 73% disapproval. The Washington Post, approval on tariffs, 39% as opposed to 60% of not approving. Immigration. Now, this is Donald Trump's strong suit. 40% disapprove, 58%, almost 60% of people disapprove. And that's because of what they're seeing in their own neighborhoods and hearing on their streets and reading in the press, unless you're watching Fox News and conservative media. Among tariffs, low. I mean, look, it's pretty close to independence for me, 34%, opposed is 64%. And so, it's really, and these numbers go across the board from different polling agencies. Even Fox News is reporting them. I wonder how he gets past this, except for lying or misleading people, saying that these polls are fake.
Well, you said it at the very end. The argument is that these are fake polls. That when there's an election, we'll find out the real results. The media is rigging this, et cetera, et cetera. And then when Republicans are in their own spaces, for example, the White House pollster, Trump campaign pollsters with House Republicans last week, they're saying, yeah, it's going to be kind of a tough midterm. Please focus on tax cuts. Please focus on prescription drug prices. Focus on a couple of things that are effective for us. And we're going to spend a lot of money. That's kind of the plan for the midterms, is to overwhelm the Democrats with money and hope the economy's good. How is he winning over independents? So that wasn't a question, but why, how has he lost these people who did swing to him in the election? And that's pretty clear. There's not much confidence that affordability is going up, and Trump just says it is, which historically, if a president is saying something very sunny and optimistic and voters don't believe it, that doesn't get him anywhere. And also, I was talking about Cuba and Venezuela. The administration has a lot of priorities that are just not very popular. And when you take power, you're allowed to do that. You don't call off a military operation or something because of a poll. But between the Epstein story, between the lack of interest that Americans have in overthrowing foreign governments or overthrowing the government of Iran is on the table, there is a sense, and you see this broadcast a lot of kind of the new media that didn't exist 10 years ago, but was pretty pro-Trump and anti-establishment. There's a sense that, yeah, he was elected at lower prices and he's doing all this other stuff. Why is he doing all this other stuff? Why is he... Now, the same polls don't show people saying, I'm confident the Democrats are going to get in there and fix it. They just have them saying, what happened to Trump? He said he was going to lower prices. He had these ideas. Maybe gas is lower than it was in November of last year, but it's not $2 like he said it was going to be, except in some places like Iowa. Where's the affordability? And so you mentioned Don, like the affordability part of this. Is he just going to pretend it's good? That'll be part of the speech. He's going to say that things are getting things not only are getting better, that they already were better. And if you're an independent who's not bought into Trump and believes everything he says, it's not convincing because you're not living that.
Yeah. Dave Weigel is Sim4's senior politics reporter, and we appreciate you joining us. And I really do. I'm so grateful that you weighed in on the breaking news. And as usual, you're a complete pro about it. Thank you for joining us, okay? And we'll see you later.
It's a big story. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it is. He's right. It is a big story, and we're going to return to it. Simone Redwine is back with us. Simone, thank you for joining us. We're going to dig back into this because we're getting new details on this story. It started as an NPR exclusive, and now others are investigating. Again, our attorney, Simone Redwine, on Girl, Is This Legal? Is going to join us in just a moment. First, a word from our sponsors. We're back with Simone. This episode is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake-from-frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, artisanal pastries, and fresh pastas, ready in 25 minutes or less. I tried the sourdough loaf, the croissants, and the fresh pasta. The croissants were my favorite. They're flaky, buttery, and honestly better than most bakeries. The sourdough had that perfect crust and tang. So Wild Grain uses simple ingredients that you can pronounce in slow fermentation with no preservatives and no shortcuts. The boxes are customizable, including gluten-free, vegan, and a new protein box. It's perfect for quick weeknight dinners or a cozy weekend brunch. Having artisan bread in the freezer just makes life easier, especially in winter. Right now, you can get $30 off of your first box, plus free croissants for life at wildgrain.com/lemon. That's wildgrain.com/lemon, or use the promo code lemon at checkout. Today's episode of the Don Lemon Show is sponsored by Surfshark. Surfshark is fast, easy to use VPN that connects you to the best available server, and it does it automatically. I use public Wi-Fi a lot. I try to avoid it when I travel, and having extra layer of encryption, it gives me the peace of mind that you need so that you don't have to go on there and not be concerned about it. Well, Surfshark encrypts your data, so passwords, messages, photos, sensitive information they stay protected. Their email scam checker can scan messages to flag potential phishing attempts, and the web content blocker is great for parents managing devices at home. So it does a lot. One subscription covers unlimited devices, which is huge. And you'll get alerts if your personal information appears in leaked databases, so you can act fast. They operate in 100 countries and offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So go to surfshark.com/Don Lemon and use the code Don Lemon to get 4 extra months free. That's surfshark.com/Don Lemon, and the code is Don Lemon. Thank you to our sponsors. Absolutely. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Okay, so here's the thing. I want to put this up. This is the report where we left off. Simone Redwine is joining us as well. But this is the finishing. I want to finish the report where we left off, Simone. And then there is a new report with Democrats who are responding. I think it's Democrats and possibly, it's all Democrats. I thought maybe there were some victims there, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's listen to the report and then we'll get to the new report. Here it is.
500 witnesses and lists in numerical order the kinds of documents from which their statements were taken. Everything from FBI interview memos to Palm Beach police incident reports to handwritten notes and the like. Going through those methodically, you can see as a layperson or as a reporter what has been produced in the files and what hasn't. And it's our expectation and understanding that there are many other instances in which witnesses, many of whom were alleged victims, don't have all of their statements produced. If these were important enough to give to Ghislaine Maxwell's defense, it's unclear to me what the rationale is for withholding them from the American public, particularly given the text of the Epstein Files Transparency Act.
What's the rationale given by the DOJ? Have they given any reason for withholding these documents?
MS Now has not yet obtained a statement from the Department of Justice. However, NPR, which was the first to report on this morning, has obtained a statement from the White House in which they haven't defended the lack of transparency with respect to these 3 interview memoranda. Instead, they have fallen back on their defense that Donald Trump is the most transparent president in history, that he has fully committed to producing documents in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. That's a defense that rings hollow to many of us who have been through these files and have seen not only over-redaction with respect to some suspects, over-redaction with respect to some individuals, under-redaction with respect to survivors, and now inexplicable withholding of documents. So
we know. I mean, Simone, you know what the rationale is, right?
Yeah.
To protect someone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, to protect the victims. But the victims, to protect Trump specifically. Yeah. But what they're saying is, oh, he has done more for these victims than anyone because he's actually released the files. You don't get credit for releasing the files that only indict other people. You don't get credit for withholding the files that show what you did. That's why he loves this position of power, because he can cover up his dirt and throw dirt on others. He thinks we're stupid. Okay. He thinks we are going to focus on others and let him off the hook. But America is like, no. Those of us who see what's going on are not letting up on this. And we want to see all the documents, not just the ones that are indicting other people.
Yeah, it's true. But when she said that the White House had responded or had not, they have not given a rationale. I think the rationale is pretty obvious. And unless they give you, unless they're transparent about it, again, as I've been saying with all of this, we are left to our own devices to try to. And what is that? That says that they're trying to protect one person, that audience of one that they speak to on the television, right?
Absolutely.
A new report from MS Now right now.
His guests for the State of the Union tonight, family members of the late Virginia Giuffre, who continue to push tirelessly for justice for herself and other victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Sky and Amanda Roberts are Virginia's brother and sister-in-law. Thank you all for being with us. And Congressman, let me start with you on the breaking news we have this morning, this new reporting from NPR as well as MS Now that Trump-related files we've learned are missing from the DOJ's file release. What is your reaction to that news?
I'm not surprised at all. He's continuing the cover-up. He's continuing to protect himself and his friends. And that's not what we wanted, and that's what the law says. The law says to release all the files and only protect the victims. But that's not what's happened. And so we're going to continue to press because this is a violation of the law.
Mm-hmm. See, in court, if he pulled this stunt in court, Don, under the law, there's a provision that says if you are withholding evidence, then it can be permitted that there is an inference given to the jury that this evidence is evidence that would show your guilt. That's what we have here. So a judge can literally rule that, hey, if this evidence was something that helped and showed Trump didn't do anything, there would be no reason for him to withhold it. So a jury is allowed to assume that this is evidence that shows he was over there messing with minors. And
is it called an adverse inference or something like that?
Yes, correct. You got it. Yes. Adverse inference.
I know a little bit. Yes. And so, but the thing is that's in a court of law.
Right.
The question is, will this ever get to a court of law? Now imagine if this was the UK and this was, someone who is sitting in office right now.
He'd be in jail.
Starmer. Right. I'm sorry?
He would be in jail. Trump would be in jail if this was the UK. From the obstruction of justice to all of the other, no, they actually have a rule of law over there, which is why Prince Andrew is in the trouble that he's in.
Now, Prince Andrew is accused of giving away or revealing secret or top secret information. But this is an allegation in a file, a very serious allegation from a head of state. And this would not be him acting within his role as president of the United States.
Correct.
So,
and under the immunity provision that the Supreme Court reviewed or ruled on more recently, when you are acting, it only protects you if you're acting in your capacity as a president. Here, the president there is no presidential capacity of withholding documents that otherwise implicate himself. That is not for national security. That is for his personal PR. So I don't see any way in which he can protect himself in that. And his little peons underneath him who are executing these, who are basically doing his dirty work to protect him. Oh, they're not off the hook either. See, Pam Bondi, she can still be disbarred, just like Rudy Giuliani was. But those types of things will likely happen only after a change in administration.
Right. That'll happen. And that's what I keep saying. This administration will be over and gone from office, and these people are going to they're going to suffer the consequences. Whether they want to, the hubris of this administration right now, they probably don't want to believe it, or they think that they're above the law. But you just mark my words. Just wait and see. I'm not just saying that to Simone Redwine. I'm saying it to everybody listening and to the folks who work for the Trump administration. And you, trust me, we will be here to experience it, to watch and see. And many people will relish in it. This is Ro Khanna having a very similar conversation as to what we're having right here, Simone Redwine. Watch.
Today, Great Britain arrested Lord Mendelsohn because of his alleged ties to Epstein. Isn't it ironic that Thomas Massey and I forced the release of the Epstein files here in the United States of America, but there's no action in America, but action everywhere else in the world? Former Prince Andrew is being investigated and prosecuted in Britain. In Norway, they are investigating and prosecuting a former prime minister. In France, they are investigating and prosecuting government officials and business leaders. But nothing here in the United States of America. Our FBI Director Kash Patel flew for the Olympics to Italy, drinking with our hockey team. Our Attorney General Pam Bondi is hurling insults to members of Congress. But they've forgotten about the survivors, the thousands of survivors who just want justice. Haley Robeson just wants justice. That's why I'm inviting her as my guest tomorrow at the State of the Union. She'll be speaking not just for herself, but for the thousands of survivors. She's a former Trump voter. It's not about politics. It's about making sure we're prosecuting those men who abused these young girls and who committed horrific crimes. I want justice here in the United States of America. It is time for the FBI and the Department of Justice to begin investigations and prosecutions.
Do you agree, Simone?
100%. 100%. And I'm really interested to see what is going to happen after the November general election. The reason I say that is there's going to be a lot of Republicans that are going to lose their seats. Well, if that is the case, right, then they will still be in office from November until the new person takes office in January. And those are the people I want to watch and see, are they going to start screaming from the mountaintops, release the files? Because right now, what Trump is doing to keep them quiet, Republicans who otherwise want to speak out, is he is threatening their seats. So they're running scared. Many of them are terrified to say what they really want to say because they're concerned that without his support, they can't win re-election. But after that election is won, the question is going to be, who's willing to speak up then?
Yeah. In the meantime, this is how conservative media and some in Washington are portraying this. They're just saying basically the Democrats are jealous of Donald Trump. Here's Maria Bartiromo.
I mean, it's interesting because a lot of the President Trump's critics try to tie him to this whole thing. And all I've seen were really Democrats who potentially had correspondence or ties, like, Larry Summers or the Obama legal counsel, Catherine Rumler, who also worked at Goldman Sachs, or, as you say, some of the others, the Clintons. So, I mean, is it based on your investigation, where really has the entanglements been?
Well, look, I think it's very clear thus far that probably at least 85% of the people who spent a significant amount of time with Epstein were Democrats. I think you see from the emails, especially towards the end, there was a clear effort by Jeffrey Epstein to coordinate with Democrats and some Republicans to try to undermine President Trump and his election. So we also saw that President Trump called the Palm Beach police when Epstein was arrested and said that, good job, that there are a lot of bad rumors about Epstein. So I think that shows that President Trump isn't, doesn't have any liability like the Democrats are trying to say.
Then show us the documents. Then show us the documents, you dimwit. What a dingbat.
That is a freaking SNL skit. I mean, these people are delusional. First of all, him calling the Palm Beach, why didn't he call the Palm Beach County Police when he was palling around with Jeffrey Epstein? Like, that's a tell. He's telling on himself.
Yeah, if he called them, it was to find out what they had on him. Okay, that's like when the murderer calls the police and checks and says, "Hey, I just want to know if you figured out who murdered that lady." It was me. It was me. That's what's going on. It was him. Just like
Did they forget about Howard Lutnick, who said, who had to admit that he had a relationship and tried to do business with him after he lied about not having any more contact with Jeffrey Epstein? It's like, did they forget about him? Did they forget about all the Republicans who supported Donald Trump and who are in those files? Like, these people are delusional. Comer, Bartiromo, what the fuck, man? You guys are delusional.
When your audience don't read. See, they know on that network, those people don't read. They just listen to whatever gobbledygook, whatever cult-based, propaganda that they're going to share. So they don't have to worry about people Googling or reading. They think they're just going to go with the foolishness that he said. That is why Trump defunded NPR. Now we see this article here explains why Trump took away $9 billion last summer from independent media such as NPR and others.
You think that's why? Because they don't, right. Because they don't want people telling the truth. Go ahead.
Yep. And he can't control their narratives. He cannot control them the way he controlled CBS. Because we saw with CBS. CBS went for that merger. And then they said, oh, we can't run this 60-minute story that's, negative towards Trump, blah, blah, blah. Plus, when Trump doesn't like media entities, he does what? He sues them. You can't sue NPR. NPR is funded by the government. That'd be like suing the government. So because he can't control them, he said, I will defund NPR and these independent media entities, and that will be my way of control. So we need to continue to support them as much as possible. They do accept donations, etc., because we need stories like these to continue to reveal the truth.
And so, because this is, Monique Presley has been contacting me, an attorney. This protects Donald Trump while he's in office, she says. It gives him immunity while he's in office, right? But once he's done, it is fair game. So it should be investigated, but will it? Not while he's in office, I don't think. And as you say, I guess we have to wait for the clock to run out, meaning on the administration.
Or it can be investigated on the state level. On state levels, yes. Oh, yeah. Because remember, that ruling by the Supreme Court only applies to the president with respect to federal issues, not state, which is why he's so scared of Letitia James and hates that lady as he does, because she was able to use New York law to file charges and hold him accountable. Now, part of the challenge, though, with the Epstein files and with the crimes that were committed related to Epstein is that they occurred in Florida. And the Republican Party has a huge stronghold on, the Florida politicians, of course, the governor, but as well as the attorney general. Pam Bondi used to be Florida's attorney general. And all of this Epstein stuff happened under her watch. The Epstein stuff was under her watch. Trayvon Martin was under her watch. Okay. So that's part of the challenge. But any other states that were involved, whether it's New York State, I bet Letitia James, that's the attorney general from New York State, is probably sitting in her office right now trying to figure out, has anything transpired in New York State where we can get some of these documents? Okay. Come on, Miss James. Come on, AG. Let's see what we can get. We want to see the tea because we know it's there.
Well, he's a former New York, probably still is a resident. Well, I think he's a Florida resident now, but he still has residency or a residence here in New York City. Simone Redwine, an attorney, a legal analyst, and a law professor. Man, it's great having you on. So good. Great information. Thank you. And everything she said, allegedly. No kidding.
Allegedly, yeah. Check me out on my YouTube channel, Girl Is That Legal. I'll be on after this over there. Also, I'm in Texas. I'm covering the Texas State Senate race, Congresswoman Crockett versus James Tallarico. Head over. I want to share more information so that people can make their own choice. So if you head on over, I'd love for those of you guys to be on my panel who support either candidate. We're going to be doing that this weekend.
Oh, and we want to have you on to discuss it because that is a hot race. How are the polls there?
They're tight. They are what and what. I mean, they are, and it's within the margin of error. So the last time I checked, Jasmine was leading slightly. It was within the margin of error. But what's also interesting is, so I'm from Jasmine's district. My parents' home is in her district. And it was a district that she won after Eddie Bernice Johnson retired and then passed away. And so what you see, her district historically was predominantly Black. And then it was redrawn. Now it's more purple. James Tallarico is in a district that's more purple. But what you're seeing is just these people that are so fired up for this primary in ways that we just have never been before. So the discourse and the discussion, we're going to have a great Democratic candidate with whomever wins. But I definitely want to help everyone get that information out there so they can make the best choice for themselves.
Thank you, Simone Redwine. We appreciate it. We'll see you back here soon. All
Thank
righty.
You, Girl Is That Legal. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Girl Is That Legal. If you want to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, here's what you do. Let me just make sure before we go there that I have put everything on here. There's one thing that I want to show before we go to that. There's one thing that I really want to show you guys, and that is we're going to go to Kristi Gnome because we're talking about people being held accountable. Kristi Gnome has been caught lying again. Kristi Gnome, if we put up the Daily Beast article, it says the White House blocks Ice Barbie's travel chaos, where she is, no, sorry, that's not it. White House Ice Barbie called out for a fake cannibal story. Ice Barbie called out for a fake cannibal story. That's in the Daily Beast. This is Kristi, and then another one from the New Republic saying Gnome exposed for inventing cannibal conspiracy. Kristi Gnome, here's one incident or instance of where she made up this story that has nothing to do with nothing. It's just a lie. Here it is.
President Trump is upholding freedom by what he is doing. The freedom to live safely in this country and to do things legally and to have justice. And because those liberals, and I'm calling out you, CNN, I'm calling you out because you lie every single day about what these operations are. We are going after murderers and rapists and traffickers and drug dealers and getting them off the streets and getting them out of this country because Joe Biden let the worst of the worst come in here. The other day I was talking to some marshals that have been partnering with ICE. They said that they had detained a cannibal and put him on a plane to take him home. And while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself. And they had to get him off and get him medical attention. These are the kind of deranged individuals that are on our streets in America that we're trying to target and get out of our country because they are so deranged they don't belong here. And they shouldn't be walking the streets with our children. And they shouldn't be living in the communities with our families who just want to grow up, go to job, raise their children to grow up and get a job and to live the American dream. So thank you to all of our law enforcement officers, those in our military that have been helping our national
so here's the
guard.
thing.
Thank you to Governor DeSantis.
Okay, you've heard that. Here's the thing about this administration. She's saying that, and she's sitting at a desk with the president of the United States, who's wearing a MAGA hat, and she's wearing a MAGA Make America Great Again hat on, and they're looking at each other. Now, these are the two possibilities. Either she's lying about it and she knows it, and Donald Trump is sitting there just nodding his head, or the other thing is that she doesn't know the truth, and that she's spreading conspiracy theories, much like Pizzagate or QAnon. And the reports are Kristi Gnome exposed for inventing bonkers cannibal deportation story. Gnome claimed in June that a man on a deportation flight tried to eat his own arms. Go down to the story. And it reveals that none of that is true. Surprise, surprise. The Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Gnome completely made up the far-fetched story about deporting a cannibal. Multiple federal law enforcement officials told The Intercept. Another instance of her lying. Watch.
You calling these guys bad hombres, they really are. I was talking to a U.S. Marshal just yesterday, and he was talking about the fact that they were deporting a plane load of illegals, and one of them was a cannibal. And he kind of said it offhanded, and I said to him, what do you mean it was a cannibal? And he said, well, we put him on the plane, put him in his seat, and he started to eat his own arms. He was such a deranged individual. This is the kind of people that President Trump is getting off of our streets, people who are murderers and rapists and are deranged individuals that we are working to get out of this country as fast as possible. So alligator Alcatraz is the future.
Was this bad hombre like handcuffed to something and he was trying to chew his arm off so he could escape? Or was he just hungry?
You know, what bothered me the most was that this U.S. Marshal just said it like it was normal. These are the kind of people they have to work with every single day when they're deporting people out of this country. So they had him, put him on the plane and had him in shackles for the flight because
Here's the thing. If you don't think, or you didn't think that these folks are trying to demonize immigrants as a whole and trying to cast them as animals. Remember, they're eating the cats or eating the dogs for the migrants. By the way, migrants legally here in the United States. Side note. If you didn't think that they're trying to do that, just by saying these are the kinds of people. Now, people are arrested and are charged with crimes all the time here, native-born Americans in the United States. They don't talk about them that way. They don't talk about the guy who reportedly was having sex with a deer, and police caught him, and he had the hair. True story. A deer or a moose or something like that. Bizarre. But they're trying to demonize and otherize immigrants as animals and as criminals. And this only backs it up. Go back to the New Republic story, Andy. The New Republic story shows, speaking to Fox News' Jesse Waters in June, that's the soundbite that you saw, Gnome recounted a terrible tale she claimed to have heard from a U.S. Air Marshal about a cannibal who tried to eat his own arms while being deported out of the country. Gnome later repeated the story as we showed you, she and Donald Trump toured Alligator Alcatraz, the president's wetland-themed concentration camp in the Florida Everglades. Again, multiple federal law enforcement officials are telling The Intercept that is bullshit. The quote is that is completely made up. A senior federal law enforcement official told The Intercept that never happened. And that's where we are. If you want to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, these people are deranged. And look, this is far beyond like politics. This is far beyond, this is not Trump derangement syndrome. We're not operating in normal times. These people are liars. They lie more than they tell the truth. And so now, what are the American people to believe? You can't believe anything that they say. They have their own credibility. They have undermined their own credibility with the statements that they make, with their behavior, with the lying, with the trying to prosecute people out of revenge, their revenge tour. Who believes anything that these folks are saying? And that is why come November, they're going to be voted out of office and they're going to try everything in their power to try to steal the election. Mark my words. They've already said it, that they want to have ICE agents at polling places to intimidate people. Or as Christy Gnome says, to make sure that we have the right people voting for the right legislators. What does that mean, the right people voting? That means people who are going to vote for Donald Trump, the people they want voting. We're supposed to be making the voting process in America open to as many people as possible, as easy for all Americans to be able to vote. That is what is patriotic. That is what our Constitution allows for us. Instead, they're trying to suppress the vote. Oh my gosh, it got me going. If you want to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, go to donlemon.com. And also, if you are a member at donlemon.com, or excuse me, a member of our YouTube show, what you can do is gift a membership. Click on that watch button, okay? This is for the folks on YouTube. And put up the thing, Andy. You can also go on YouTube and our other platforms. Subscriptions are free. Make sure that you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you are a member already, then you can gift a membership. If you're not a member, then become a member. Very reasonable, okay? Also subscribe. If you go back to donlemon.com, you can subscribe to our Twitch and our Substack. All of them are on that page. Twitch is the last one that looks like the quotation mark. That's our Twitch. You can go there, and if you are on YouTube and you're a subscriber, go to Twitch and subscribe. Also, if you're on YouTube, look at the Substack. Go to Substack and subscribe. You can free subscription or a paid subscription, whatever. It does help us out to stay viable out here on these streaming streets. So welcome to the Lemon Nation Gizzy Place. We're proud that you are, we're happy that you're part of the proud Lemon Nation. Also, M.E. Beck, thank you as well for becoming a new member. And Sonny Jean, thank you as well. Welcome to the Lemon Nation to everyone. So be informed without being inundated. We have a big day ahead of us. We're going to be reporting on the State of the Union starting at 5 o'clock and continuing on all the way to the State of the Union until we're done. We're going to have pre-analysis, analysis during. We're going to fact check during. We're going to talk about the lies and the antics of the president and everyone and others who are involved in the whole process. And then afterwards, we will have analysis about what was said and what is to come. So be informed without being inundated until I see you back here at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Don't forget our 2 o'clock drop. At 2 o'clock, we drop stuff every day, so check that out. But until I see you back here at 5 p.m. Eastern time, live on the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon channel, turn the TV off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.